The project list for our house is growing about a mile long, so I decided to set the goal of making over our entryway in just 1 week. We've already done some work on the space before because the walls were a beige tan color when we moved in. As you can see, there's a lot to do, so let's just get right into the DIY. We're trying to stick to the original era of our home, so we decided to remove the textured ceilings. We had it tested for asbestos and lead and then got started. We found that the trick was soaking the ceiling with water, really use a lot of water, and let it sit for about 10 minutes.
There's probably a better way to do this, but...
After that, you really just scrape until all the texture is gone. The hardest part was being on the ladder, well, at least that's what Ryan said because I did not do this. After that, we removed the light and then went to Lowe's to grab some paint samples. I landed on Lovable for the ceiling and Piano Blues for the door. Hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Rachel and I like pink. I tested about 10 different shades before landing on this one. Because it's on the ceiling and not the walls, I went a bit brighter since it will appear darker from the lighting. This was my first time painting a ceiling and it really wasn't that bad. The best part was not having to do the edging because the crown molding will eventually cover it. Another first for me was painting my front door. And I have to say, I am not a fan, not because of the painting process, but because of how heavy this door was. After finally getting it down, I sanded with 120 grit sandpaper and then primed with a coat of Kills 2. I let it dry overnight and then sanded again with 220 grit sandpaper. Then it was time for color. After I spilled paint everywhere trying to film the perfect shot, I added a bit of water to thin out the paint for the sprayer. There's a link below for the exact sprayer I use. I really love it. I applied 2 coats and let it dry overnight. I have been dying to add crown molding to our home since we moved in, and what better way to start than with a pink version? Our molding came primed, so all I had to do was add paint. Again, I can't recommend a paint sprayer enough for any detailed painting work. You really get into every groove with a flawless finish, but that is of course if no bugs land on it. I applied 2 coats and then let it dry overnight before installing. I've always been intimidated by the thought of installing crown molding, but truthfully, I'd rate it around a 5 out of 10 on the difficulty scale if you get the system with pre-cut corner pieces. Installing crown molding is basically 3 stages. You apply construction adhesive to the back, secure with brad nails, and then finish with caulk and touch-up paint. There's also that part about cutting everything exactly to size, but that's future use problem. As long as you take your time to measure twice, you're really just making straight cuts with a miter saw. I was genuinely surprised that we were able to pull this off, and I can't wait to add more in the rest of the home. If you are considering skipping the caulking stage, let me show you why you shouldn't. Caulking is going to give your molding that photo-perfect polish and cover any of those brad nail holes. You can really see the difference in the side-by-sides here. An old house is never level, so this is a way to help make up for that. Quick tip, add paint to a cup and then put in a shirt pocket to keep from having to go up and down on the ladder while you make touch-ups. Before I could wrap the project up, it was time for those final details. I eventually want to get antique vent covers and switch covers, but for now I was able to paint them brass. I think this is a great alternative for adding charm to your home without having to rush to find the perfect piece. We also added the chandelier of my dreams, and here's how the space came out. I'm so happy with how everything came together. I'm thinking of maybe adding wallpaper now or painting stripes, but let me know what you think in the comments below.